There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
I want to watch the sunrise, but
he is actually not laying in his bed this morning. We'll hear from Owen in just a moment. Hola, bon dia, alegria, Monson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How on earth are you doing this morning? Do let me know in the chat. We're going to have a bit of fun. A bon fin semana. That's what we're heading towards here on the Good Morning Portugal show this morning. And we've got Jeff Hall popping in. Jeff, we've not had on the show before. Jeff is this sound okay? Or am I sounding like Donald Duck again? This morning. Sounds a bit weird and tinny in my headphones, but I have been blasting them on Spotify this morning, listening to a few tunes before we got started. Okay, well, everything seems to be all right at mine. Do let me know if that's true for you. Jeff Hall joining us, a filmmaker who's in Lisbon at the moment for the Tribeca Festival. The Tribeca is in Lisbon, and maybe Robert De Niro is as well. You talking to me? Is happening in Lisbon this very weekend, today and Saturday and Sunday, I believe. Jeff's joining us as a British filmmaker who's making a film about sex trafficking and organised crime. And we'll find out more about his project when he joins us at about 10 past. We've got Phil Cooklin. We're going to Casa Cooklin to find out what's going on over there in Castelo Branco. And the coach will be joining us as well, wrapping up the week's tips. We had a special focus on building bone density as we age. So we'll talk to the coach about that as well. And Owen's going to join us at the end of the show, as he is at the beginning of the show. Here we'll set it up with a little recap on what Owen's been up to up there in Ponte Lima at a local school. And he's going to have some of his work, his poetry, immortalized as part of a mural up there. So let's set this up with a video that Owen sent us, and we'll talk to him towards the end of the show. Lovely video from João de Norte as well, and some features, some previews of what's going on up in the Bairrada district this weekend as well, courtesy of Bairrandi. And anything else you want to share on 913-590-303. James is up there in Espino with Vitor. Give him a shout, give him a hug, a squeeze from me, if you will, James. And his latest edition of An Old Guy in Europe is also out on YouTube as well. What a talented bunch we are, this bunch of gumpers here. So bon fin semana to you. Let's get started. Let's get into that weekend. And we'll start with Owen with his report from the school.
So this is where we are, the Fascia School, where we're doing the mural on the wall. And this school is amazing. That flag represents an award for the environmental causes of recycling. So outside the school, you can see the traditional bins there and there as well. But once you walk into the school, they've got plants everywhere. There's a little courtyard here, some herbs growing on the wall, but this is the recycling centre. So all sorts of recycling going on here, garden waste, and even the coffee tops, coffee capsules there. And then another big recycle bin there, one there, and a big bag of corks, which last year they managed to buy a horse with the proceeds from the money they made from recycling of the corks. So they've got all awards everywhere. Inside, we have all the awards there on the wall. All the awards the school have won. Look at all these, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And this is the first mural that Andrew did for the school. Like that. And I'm just going to take you downstairs and show you what we've done down there.
It's absolutely brilliant. So we will see what's going on downstairs. Yes, do mention the Caldish Car Fest Sunday. Okay, we'll come back to that, Colin. Or just jump on a little bit later on. Why don't you join us a little bit later on and tell us about that? Because I think you and your vehicle will be featured there. I recognise that voice and that place. I'm pretty sure that's Vitor's daughter's school. Oh, that's good. So lovely connections here, Gumper Connections this morning. And we'll come back to you, Owen, towards the end of the show and see how your poetry that we love and has been featured on the show, of course, before. And see how that's being included in Andrew's latest mural at the school there. What a lovely school. And did you say they raised enough money to buy a horse with the corks that were collected? Now, either those parents drink a lot or horses are quite cheap, or it's a little bit of both up there. But isn't that nice to do that walk of shame in the morning? Recycle your bottles and your corks and know that that's going towards your child's education there. Bom dia, Portugal. Jackie also in. Bon dia Gumpers just tuned in to hear sex trafficking and crime. Are we talking about Spain today? That's a bit naughty, isn't it, Jackie? Actually, we're talking about Bristol and Lisbon. Jeff Hall's joining us in just a moment. He's making a film about those subjects. What an amazing school. Fantastic recycling project, says Jackie. Right, who else is here this morning? The coach. We'll let the coach do his own inclusions and voice his own God's God tip of the day today. It's all been about bone density. He doesn't like a bit more density in their bone first thing in the morning. Of course, if it's good enough to say once, it's good enough to say, I think, 3 times now.
Stop it, you idiot.
Off this morning with Vitor Costa. Viewing, he's been mentioned twice now, viewing new spaces to live in Espinho. So I'll see you all on Monday. Yeah, and don't forget that new episode of An Old Guy in Europe is debuting on, probably already has debuted on YouTube this morning as well. Feliz sexta a todos, she says, como é o vosso dia? From James there. I hope that goes well for you up there in the north. T-Duck also in, of course, with the Bon Dia Alegria Gumpers. Yeah, Colin, I'll send you the link so that you can join us a little bit later on and talk about that. You'll be in great company with the coach and Phil, of course, a little bit later on in the show. All rugby fans together. And I can't believe it's Friday already. That opening theme that I created last Sunday, we've barely talked about the Bentley 8 that's on there that I'm hoping Doug will bring and drive us around with his chauffeur sat on here in Portugal. Brigadeiro, Portuguese Brazilian chocolate cake. We haven't even mentioned that. Thank you, Darren, for that video. And of course, our point of interest of the week, Coimbra. Barely mentioned Coimbra. So I think we might have to carry Coimbra forward because it's such a big and important place. We might carry that forward next week. The property of the week, that has been the property portal of the week, which is Kippertree, and I'm looking forward to talking to Astrid and Jerry after the show today to see how we can work together with Kippertree as well. Mike and Karen also in. Miranda de Corvo this morning. Bon dia Gumpers. Oh, look, it's Karen's birthday today. Parabéns a você. So yes, of course, happy birthday to you, Karen, this morning. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. What you got planned for her, Mike? And Antonio F in as well, our great friend Antonio F. Bon dia a todos. I was going to say our amigo grand, but that makes him sound like a big fella, which I think he is as well. But what would great friend be as opposed to big friend? Which you are both, as it turns out, Antonio F. But how would we call you a great friend and a dear friend? Is it Kier amigo? Possibly, or maybe I'm asking, I want a friend if I'm saying quer amigo. Can you help me out with that? You can see I'm struggling. Oh, Rugby Colin, life in the fast lane. He's got to go to the doctors at 9:30. Well, good luck with that, Rugby Colin. And I hope the piles aren't giving you too much of a problem. I think there's a lot of over-the-counter sort of stuff, and positive thinking helps with that sort of thing. Let's give him a nice big round of applause now and bring onto the screen and find out more about the Tribeca Film Festival, which is happening in Lisbon over the next 2 or 3 days. Nice round of applause, please. He likes a warm hand on his opening. It's Jeff Hall, everybody. Let me find the right. We don't want to bleep out his expletives. Well, not yet anyway. Let's give him applause instead. There they are. Fantastic. Okay. I've got a slow mouse. Sorry, Jeff. There you go. He's on the screen.
There we go. Hello.
Jeff, how are you?
I am fine. I'm so glad my friends Kit and Sam Jennings held you hostage to get me on your program.
Well, thank you for your help in getting me set free from them ambushing me in the cafe. And here you are this morning. Brilliant to hear from them that the Tribeca Film Festival, or the Portuguese Lisboeta version of that, is happening pretty much right now, right? And then for the next couple of days over this weekend.
And Saturday, yes. There was a kind of opening event last night.
Okay.
Then today we have Portuguese films being shown, but we also have industry talk. So this afternoon, Robert De Niro is speaking about restoring hope and the legacy of cinema. So really looking forward to that. There are all sorts of other industry talks about AI, of course, is a big topic, as well as, distribution models, because the whole thing is now changed. Used to be, you've got to find theatrical kind of release. Now it's people going, oh, what about streamers? What about online video? So, it is my first Tribeca. It's also my first time in Lisbon, and I'm really enjoying it here.
Are you? Tell us about your experience. Tell us about your experience of Portugal and Lisbon, then, for a moment.
Well, I arrived on Tuesday and was greeted by torrential downpour.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, I've flown from Bristol, and the home of Britain, and here I am. I feel I've travelled 2.5 hours only to do some kind of loop and then back up in Bristol, but the buildings have been rearranged. So it was absolutely torrential. I've never quite seen anything like it, but I'm on the 11th floor of my hotel, and there was just this cascade of I didn't realize that Lisbon had its own waterfall in the sky.
Oh yeah, we've got everything here. Yeah, it's an amazing city with an amazing buzz, and what a great backdrop for the Tribeca. And I think Robert De Niro is known for having co-founded that, right? And you're hearing him speak this weekend.
That's right. I'm looking forward to that very much. I'd love to ask him a question or two about the legacy of cinema, and something that we've thought about with Seeing Rachel, because our film is about human trafficking. That we, as filmmakers, have a social responsibility, and what does that look like? So, we're talking about firsts here, first Tribeca, first time in Lisbon, but also the first time that I've met in the flesh the film's executive producer, Sandra Isabel Correa, who is a native of Lisbon. So there's this UK Portugal connection, and that's wonderful. And we found each other on Stage 32, which you might have heard, might not have heard. It's the world's largest platform for those involved in film and television industry. And it's it just encourages people in their gifts, in their craft. And also there's an educational element and certification element to help people get up to speed in the industry. Because we, as writers, we're all about the writing. We're all about getting the story down.
Yes.
And then when we're finished, it's like, well, now what do I do? How am I going to translate? How is this going to be seen on a screen? Whether that's a small screen, a device, or a large theatrical release screen. And Stage 32 kind of helps you connect with fellow kind of creatives, but also educates you and gives you access to some executives who can, you can have kind of career development calls and things like that. And sorry?
That sounds wonderful. I mean, given that, I think you've given us a really good condensed view of what's happened in the film industry in the last 20 or 30 years, which is, I think it's moved from this, or maybe even a longer time span than that, but it's moved from, those days of Hollywood and everything being locked into a certain point of production to being democratized into, and broken up into thousands, if not millions of little bits around the world, and a little bit incoherent. More people have got access, but not necessarily to the funding and support you need. And this sounds like a lovely use of the technology to have people collaborate together.
Absolutely. So the aim of the CEO, which is Richard Botto, or RB to his friends, was to democratize the industry. And how do you do that? It's great to have a concept. Oh, that's a really bright idea, RB, but no, RB is great at actually, assembling the bones and putting flesh on the bones to get this thing. This is what it's going to look like. We'll start with community, and then we'll start with education. And now they've moved into certification. So anywhere around the world, you can study investor agreements. You can study stage lighting. Fantastic. You can, every possible skill that you could have in filmmaking, you can get a certificate in that, and there you go then on a register. So anybody in the world, say you could be in South Africa, and you could say, well, how do I find a director of photography, a cinematographer? Go to that database. There's somebody that's done a certificate, you know, whatever it is, whatever that kind of, it could be a production accountant, you know, you can find them there that have certifications. So, you know, they know their job.
Very good. Very good. And it's called Stage 32, did you say?
Stage 32. With this very
good.
web address, stage32.com.
Okay, so any budding filmmakers, anybody who wants to network, learn their craft, can go to Stage 32 and learn more. Now, we need to find out more about you, Jeff, because you're here about your as much about the industry and learning more about the industry and connecting with people about your own film. Can you, where are you at with Seeing Rachel? Please tell us about the project, and is it being made? Are you coming here to get it made? Where are you in the process of that project, and what's your part in it?
I am the writer and the director of that film. It's because of Sandra, really. Sandra starts telling me about taking responsibility and look at production, getting back into production.
Yeah.
So I have now set up a company, a production company. Sandra is a wonderful kind of business mentor. She's been very successful in business. And so my writing skills have now got that kind of business skills approach of, this is how we do it. This is how the industry works. This is what I need to do. And Sandra has been very much a promoter of me getting, dare I use the term, my hands dirty as a producer. So we are now at the stage of looking for development funding. So you find development funding, which is a percentage of the budget. And from that, you then employ a producer. You employ, most importantly, a casting director who can then find, you know, we have a secret short list of people we want to approach, but we can't do that directly. We have to do that through a casting director. So that's what we'll be doing. And then when we have a name attached, we can then start talking to people about the full budget. So Sandra's responsibility is to find development funding and then find the full production budget.
Yes, yeah. It just seems a bit like the music industry, where you can be a very gifted player, but to actually make it in the world and in the business, there are so many other parts to it, and that's what you're involved in now, isn't it? You're presumably a great storyteller, and you've got a great idea, but there's so much more work to do to bring that story to the public consciousness.
Oh yeah, I mean, you start. Let me tell you how Seeing Rachel came about. So I wrote this in 2012. Okay, which is a good 12 years. You know, I'm still waiting for it to be produced. Sandra tells me it's going to happen. We're working towards it. You know, we're going to do this. It came about by a dream. This is going to sound very Jungian. So
we're good with that. We're good with that.
Oh yeah. Well, you and Carl. Oh, another Carl. There you go, Carl Young. Yeah?
Yes.
So I had this dream of me being laid on a bed, resting on my elbows, kind of perched, and in this solid darkened room, and I started hearing footsteps, echoing footsteps coming towards me, getting faster and faster and faster and faster. My breathing is, you know, my heartbeat is boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, a young girl, age 10 or 11, appears in front of me, kind of panicked, looking around. My name is Rachel Anderson. Please don't forget about me. And then that was the end.
That's it. That's a good start to a movie, though, isn't it?
And I woke up, and that's actually, yes, is going to be the start to the movie.
Yes, got to be.
A dream. From there, I woke up the next morning, thought, I've got to write this down. So I wrote it down. I have these little lovely black notebooks. I take them everywhere I go with me, you know. And I thought, well, who was Rachel Anderson? You know, why is she concerned about being forgotten? You know, all this thing about memory as well. And so I thought, well, Rachel is obviously a young schoolgirl. Right. Well, what are her parents like? So I started with, in writing terms, what you call a character web. So she has a mom, she has a dad. Okay. What's the relationship like? So the dad, there's no spoiler here, so we're okay. The dad, the gambling problem, gets into debt. To pay off his debt, he sells Rachel into sex. Yes. Now, this is not something plucked out of the air. This is, I've kind of done my research. So seeing Rachel from that point of the dream took a year to write with research and forever changing things, editing, kind of everything. And then I was looking to get that film made a little while later, and things kind of fell foul of that. But I've got this script, and it's quite different from, we've seen numerous films about trafficking.
Yes.
They tend to be like in two camps. One is the kind of action hero that saves the day. So you think of Jim Caviezel and The Sound of Freedom.
Yes.
You think Liam Neeson in Taken. Although
Yes.
I am not convinced Taken is actually about human trafficking. I think it's about revenge, because we all know Liam Neeson has the certain kind of skill set.
Yes.
But you have this action figure, action hero, saving the day, saving those who have been, manipulated and exploited for sexual kind of gratification. Now, the other model is the kind of educational thing. How does this happen?
Yeah.
So
and how do we stop? And how do we stop it? Right, because that's where I think you come in, isn't it? With a social conscience and a wish to change society through your art.
Absolutely. And the way to do that, in my mind, as a storyteller and as a filmmaker, is not to educate people, because then you're giving people, it's kind of matter of fact. This is how it happened. So you have a young lady in very poor and vulnerable situation, economically, socially, looking for a way out, looking for a better life. Somebody comes along and offers them a way out. Oh, I know a casting agent at a modeling agency. I can get you to them. And people have been saying, well, it can't be that simple. That's ridiculous. But if you have no hope and you are in a vulnerable social position, if somebody offers you a way out, you're probably going to take it.
Well, we see so much of this in the world, don't we, at the moment?
Yeah. So, it is about exploitation. We are living in a sex-obsessed society.
Yep.
And what happens when demand outweighs supply is that exploitation is not very far behind. And that's what the modern day slavery industry, if we can call it that, is all about.
Mm.
And
well, it's unbelievable that we are in an age where there is an industry. I mean, the fact that you can identify it as an industry is a disgusting indictment on where we're at as human beings. And hopefully your film will, you make a really good point about Liam Neeson and how the movie industry, if you like, exploits human suffering to make a revenge movie rather than actually educating and entertaining people to have it stop. And hopefully that's where you'll be able to come in and be part of ending the problem.
Well, we're hoping that the film will compel people to action. And you do that by speaking the language of the imagination. So you have it's visual storytelling. And there's the thing. It's not educational. It's supposed to be inspirational. Yeah. And how does the imagination work? It works with images.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to Carl Jung, not Carl Munson, but Carl Jung, and what he calls active imagination, you have what he calls anxieties and emotions in the unconscious.
Yes.
That as part of the healing process, and this is important, it's not to scare you rigid, it's part of the healing process, those need to be imagined. They need to be given visual form. Yes. So as a filmmaker, I'm thinking, with Seeing Rachel, what I will do and what I have done is provide you with those images of your unconscious fears and anxieties about society.
Yep.
From there, you have a response. You can run away from it, or you can embrace it, and it's, you know, it's compelling you to action. So, you know, the United Nations say that, you know, if about forced migration, there's so much of a problem with turmoil in the world. Forced migration is an issue.
Yeah.
UN reckons 79% of people who are forced to migrate, not looking for a holiday in the UK, but forced to migrate, you know, they, it's like 79% are sexually exploited during that experience.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
There's also another study, I think with the UN, and it said that 20%, so that's a kind of transient, what you might call transient sexual exploitation. But what you have is that 20% of people who are exploited into human trafficking find themselves, or rather are exploited and drawn into the sex industry. So, you know, you have porn, and this is not, you know, I'm not a moralizer, but I'm just saying, you know, if you think you
I really don't have any problem with you being a moralizer if you wish to be on this very important subject, Jeff. But go ahead.
You know, because then I'm giving my position. The film isn't giving my position. The film is about looking deeper into the character. So I'm looking at the psychological or the psychology of the antagonist, the protagonist, and the victim. I am not making a statement of my intent.
Fair enough. I understand.
Lots of directors who it really shows their passion for the subject, but they go over the top to make the point.
Yes, indeed.
I want in that respect to be anonymous. I don't want you to have to come through me to be sold my point of view.
I understand that. Yeah.
I want you to look at that screen and go, shoot.
Make your own mind up and be motivated to do something.
Yeah.
Jeff, I need to move on. We've got the coach and Phil waiting to chat, but it's been very important talking to you. And you're here for the Tribeca Film Festival in Lisbon, of course.
I am. Yes.
I've put your YouTube channel where people can get more of the idea about seeing Rachel and where you are in the journey of making your film, which I hope you do get made, and which so you know it can bring light to this darkness that you've been talking about this morning for humanity. Not one of our greatest moments, is it? Of course.
No.
And I'm reminded of a quote that I picked up earlier on this week that I've shared once before already, but it seems to be so true about what you were saying. The ideologies separate us. That's where we seem to be politically, right? However, according to Eugene Ionesco, and I don't know who he is, but I think this is a great quote, dreams and anguish bring us together. And that's the dynamic of the storytelling you were talking about, wasn't it? The anguish, the anxiety. We bring light to that in the storytelling, and our dream of a better society, a better humanity can be sort of given birth to as a result of that counterpoint and looking at the dark side. That seems to be what we're about.
With my quote then, having you shared yours?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
A chap called Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who you may have heard of, said, "The true test of a moral society is the kind of world that we leave to our children."
Yes, well said.
Wow. So my question this morning to you and to your viewers would be, how are we doing?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And what are we going to do about it?
Yes, well said. Well said. What a brilliant note to leave us on. Come back, Jeff, and let us know how everything's developed.
We'll have to there in Lisbon, won't we? And I'll invite you to it.
Yes, I'll come to the premiere. Absolutely. I want to see this made, and I wish you all the best. And love to Bristol when you get back there. And thank you. Out of that chance meeting with Kit and Samantha yesterday, talking to you this morning, and give my regards to Robert De Niro, obviously, when you see him as well this week.
Oh yeah. Me and Bob go way back.
All right, Jeff. Take good care and keep up the great work. All right. Cheers. Ciao. Amazing man, Jeff Hall there, here for the Tribeca Film Festival, which happens to be in Lisbon from last night, today, and tomorrow. Tribeca Film Festival, and Bob De Niro in town as well. Let's keep that applause going and bring onto the stage, a little later than advertised, we've got the coach, and also keep the applause going and bring on Phil Cooklin as well. Good morning, gentlemen. That's a rousing start to the weekend, isn't it?
My word, Mr. Cooklin, you're looking at a small part of your previous self.
Hold on a minute. Is that actually Phil, Ian?
I think it is. That's
my
there's
thinner
bits of him
twin.
that look familiar.
Phil, wow, how's it going?
Going well. You know, fit, healthy,
Incredible.
thinner.
He's like
You
a
know,
patron saint, a patron saint of the God Squad, isn't he?
Yeah.
87 pounds released. So what, 39 and a bit kilo?
That's extraordinary. I'm just taking a moment to take that on board. You've lost 39 kilos.
Yeah. And before anybody gets worried that I'm losing too much or anything like that, I'm monitoring. You know, I mean, people
do say that, don't they? People do say, "Oh, you're wasting away, Phil."
You don't want to take it too far, Phil.
Yeah, you're now an extremist.
Because I'm radical. No, I'm walking easier than I've ever done. I can squat for longer periods of time, get out of chairs easier, get onto aeroplanes, do the seatbelt up with lots to spare, not be self-conscious walking around places. My mental health has improved immeasurably. And nice bloody good, really. Pardon the language. It's
not a problem.
Fantastic.
I want to hear more about all of that because, I mean, that we can imagine, carrying on with Jeff's story. I mean, we are about visuals and storytelling, aren't we, as human beings? It's how we live and how we think and how we bring about transformation and change. And that little, vignette of you getting into a plane seat and doing up the belt and going, oh. It must be a kind of moment where, and you must have had so many of these in different contexts. Have you got any other examples? Because they're quite amazing.
Oh God, yeah, loads. Donating all my 4XL sheets, t-shirts to a place that rented out tents. That was quite a good day. No, I recycled them, to be honest with you. Well, more marquee than tent. No, I recycled them and. Going into shops and having a choice of clothes to wear, that was another big one for me.
I bet.
But also being so in control of how I'm feeling that I don't mind when people are sitting around me eating whatever they want to eat, because I just know it's not my food. It's everybody takes their own journey, their own path.
Yeah.
And for me, mine had been blurred by sugar and flour for a very, very long time. And it was time to do something about it before it was possibly too late. It wasn't too late now. And I'm not sure it's ever too late. But I knew that I wanted to reach an older age, feeling fit and healthy and enjoying what we're creating here in the middle of Portugal.
Incredible. And that's sobering and inspiring, isn't it? It's never too late. Coach, you were nodding your head there in agreement.
Absolutely. It's never too late to get fit.
Yeah.
I think that's, and Phil, what an example. What an example. And it shows that the balance between clearly what you eat and therefore your weight and being able to exercise is an interesting one too, because as you were, Phil, you probably couldn't go out and walk distances, and I mean you did, didn't you? Because you did.
He actually did.
But that was probably the start of the process, wasn't it?
Well, it was a big start of the process. Of course, those that know me know that last year I walked 1.7 million steps in 90 days, which is like 18,000 a day, about 9 miles a day. And I did this and it was all great. And the problem was I was journey planning. So wherever I was doing the walk, I'd do like 9,000 steps, which would take me to a cafe that served the most amazing full English breakfast. I'd eat a full English and then I'd do 9,000 more. So unsurprisingly, that wasn't the start of my weight loss journey, but it was the start of me feeling good, feeling active and needing that activity. So yeah, it's all good.
Could you say a bit more about the mental health benefits as well then, Phil? Because and I think I get what the coach is getting at there. It's like as you make more progress, it's kind of exponential, isn't it? It leads to more progress of other kinds and different kinds, and it adds to a compound. It's like compounding interest of fitness, isn't it? Both mentally and physically.
Yeah, and doing one big thing once doesn't give you it, because it will fade in time. It's like taking the heat away from the saucepan of water. You know, the saucepan of water will go cold. You're much better off doing 2-3 good, nice walks, or a little bit of walking every day that just raises your heart a little bit, and go out there and explore. It's so much nicer than doing it on a treadmill, even if it's raining. I remember Billy Connolly, it wasn't his original quote, but I remember he was the first person I heard say this. He said, "There's no such thing as bad weather. There's just the wrong clothing."
Yes. Yeah. And it sounds like you're well kitted out to go walking across those beautiful Monsanto hills there. And we're going to see some pictures from Phil Cooklin and what's been going on there, because that's another part of you're a man of journeys, Phil, aren't you?
Well, I think this is
one epic journey of another going on for you.
Well, you know, if you make up a dream board with lots of destinations on it, then you're going to go on lots of journeys.
Yeah. Well, clearly, and we've been on it. It feels like we've been on a few of them with you, and not obviously to the extent that you have. But 39 kilos, visualizing that's 39 bags of sugar, isn't it? That if you put them on the countertop in front of you, would be an extraordinary sight.
I wouldn't find it that easy to pick it up, fairness, and yet I was carrying that around with me. So I am now in the 14 stones for the Brits amongst us. And I haven't been down there for a while. And I feel remarkably fit and healthy. Do I have the body of Adonis? Oh, my word, no. But I have the badges of honor that have come with this journey. So, you know, my neck is such that if I was in America, I'd be worried about Thanksgiving, because, you know, I've got a bit turkey there. But again, yeah, exactly. Or Christmas. But it's just a badge of honor.
And very interesting, Phil, about the effect it has on other people, because it sounds like some people are taking it personally. Your change being taken personally by others.
I think whatever we do in life, people will view through the camera, the lens that they see, won't they?
Yeah,
and of course, some of the things that I'm doing are quite radical, and it shines a light on their own lives, and they may not like that, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not my job to admonish or anything like that. I just send them love, because they remind me of why I'm going down the road I'm going down.
That's very interesting, isn't it? And I can imagine some of the scenarios, because, you know, seeing you waste away in their eyes and like, oh, you're not having a drink, or you're not having a cake. Go on, have a drink, have a cake. These are the games we play with each other, aren't they?
Oh, hugely. And the fascinating, I mean, this is when I do get a bit rude. Somebody said to me, in fact, it's happened more than once. People have said to me, oh, well, don't worry, Phil. You know, when you get down to your weight, you know, you can treat yourself. You can treat yourself to something. You know, if I was addicted to crack cocaine and I had managed to come off it, would you be saying,
go on, have a little bit.
Just have, you know, have the one hit. It's okay. But I was addicted to sugar and flour, and these things are nasty and pernicious. Yes. I truly believe that. And I know that, you know, people don't have to follow my line. It doesn't matter. But to me, there is a worldwide obesity epidemic happening that no one's talking about. And it's happening, and it's out there.
Yeah. Well, it goes along with the mental health that you mentioned before as well. And these are things, I guess, because we're all involved in them to some extent, you know, we don't want to talk about it necessarily. It takes people like Jeff Hall, doesn't it, to hold a mirror up, make a film, do it in some other way that's out there, where it takes us by surprise. It's like, oh my God, you know, we can do something about this. Did you have a moment like that? Did you have a sudden moment where you thought, I really need to take action, or was it more gradual than that?
I think it was I remember as a kid, you know, for social and economic A-level history, the question would always be, discuss the causes of the Industrial Revolution. And it was like a whole load of things coming together at exactly the right moment. And that's what it was. It was just a whole range of things. I was in Portugal, loving life, because I love it here. I genuinely love it. The dream home was coming along well, but the weight thing had been on my dream board for, I don't know, 9 years.
Yeah.
But maybe it just wasn't the right time. And maybe I had taken baby steps, but not the right baby steps, you know.
Yes, and it does. I guess from what you're saying there, I'm deducing anyway that it doesn't have to be a shock. It can be quite the opposite, which is I'm loving life, and I could love it even more if you created conditions, didn't you? Like perfect storm in a good way. It's like I really love my life, and you know what? If I do X, Y, or Z, this is going to amplify my connection to this life that I've created that I love. So that's a fabulous motivation, isn't it? If that's what happened for you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what happened. And the right person came along with the right book at exactly the right moment, and I was open. And I think you have to be open for business.
Yeah. They're called angels, aren't they? I think. Yeah.
Well, most people are.
Well, that's right. That's right. On a
true.
good day, on a good day, we can visit each other as angels, can't we?
Yeah.
Remember that today, folks, and this weekend. Try it. See what happens. Right. This fits perfectly with what we've been talking about. Because I think it's fair to say there, Coach, that Phil's done an amazing service to himself in terms of helping himself on his health and bone density. Weight loss is going to be very helpful, isn't it, with some of the issues you've been looking at? Hugh's saying, did the Earth move? There's been another 3.1. That might have been somebody doing one of the exercises you suggested earlier this week. Is that right? The 3.1 on the Richter scale?
Probably the jumping one.
The jumping squatting thing. It may be something to do with that. So could you tell us a little bit more on this Friday of this week's theme of bone density? And we've got your God Squad tip of the day that I can put on the screen for you as well.
Well, I'll go back a bit.
Right.
Because my mother and indeed her mother both suffered from osteoporosis.
Uh-huh.
And what I didn't understand was, I knew it was very common in women post-menopausal. I didn't understand that men suffer from it too. So that was something that popped up in my research. So what can be done about it? And some of the new research is showing that, yes, you can exercise, and people have always been told to go out and walk, and lots of them don't. It's that change of habit that Phil is absolutely nailed now.
Yes.
You have to make it a habit so that it becomes an everyday or almost everyday thing. Mm-hmm. But popped up on my timeline a guy proposing these 3 relatively simple exercises to help those that perhaps are less mobile actually build back some of that calcium in your bones, particularly in your legs and hips, which are the things that if people have a fall, it's often a cracked hip, broken hip that puts them into hospital and they never come out. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So we've looked at just jumping on the spot. Simple, you can do it. That's probably the most effective, but also the one that you need to be most careful with, because I do quite a lot of it, but I've been doing it a very long while, so you don't want to just go straight into it.
There's a few old punks and new wavers here, so it's a bit of pogoing, but build up slowly. You're pogoing in.
We'll need to go to a punk gig, won't we?
Let's get a band together. By Randy, we'll be a front man. We've got other
put
musicians.
The Sou'wester back on though.
Let's start. No spitting.
I had hair then.
No spitting. No Mohicans for obvious reasons. But let's start pogoing again. All right, very good.
So that was the first one. Weighted squats. So just carrying something heavy close to your chest and just doing squats that you can manage. Just however deep you can manage without injuring yourself. And then the last one was walking with weights or putting a weighted vest on. In fact, there's a friend of Leslie's that she works with at the library who has exactly this problem. A guy, he's quite tall and he has a quite poor posture. So I suspect, it's cumulative issue. Yeah. But he's now out walking with a weighted vest.
And that's
And
a thing now.
He walks
You
quite
can
long distances.
You can buy a weighted waistcoat now, can you, for this purpose?
Well, it's a waistcoat. You can put weights of different amounts in.
Well, I never.
You can gradually build it up, and it's good because it helps you keep a better posture than probably carrying a couple of dumbbells.
Is it the same waistcoat that drug smugglers buy on Amazon?
I'm sure. You want to buy a watch?
What's that doing in there? Right.
I'm sure there's similar things.
Right, okay.
So that's that. And so today we were talking about nutrition and the importance of nutrition, because I remember back to my mum, her doctor prescribed her calcium tablets, these huge things that look like sort of torpedoes, and it turns out that they're not very effective at all.
They're not absorbable.
The body can't absorb it.
Yeah, right.
What you need is a really good diet, a mixed diet of lots of plant-based foods to help absorb and allow the calcium to get into the bloodstream and down to where it's needed.
Yeah.
So that requires just lots of plants, which of course is what we've been told we need to be doing anyway for all our other health.
Leafy green veg.
Not just leafy greens, but pulses, herbs, spices. Spices count.
Yes.
Even a little teaspoon of turmeric or paprika or whatever.
All that fun in the kitchen.
Plant-based. It's just a mixture.
Yes, absolutely. Which makes sense, doesn't it? And I think you make a great point here, as I think we're all learning simple solutions relying on supplements. It appeals to the mind, doesn't it? Take this one pill and it'll deal with it. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. This is Sparta, and we don't want your supplements, right?
It's exactly that. All the vitamin supplements. Just eat a good basic diet.
Yeah, I mean, supplements. I guess the clue is in the name. They supplement. They don't replace. So I don't think that's a wholesale rejection of supplements. They can be useful if used in the right way, but perhaps people have used them in the wrong way more recently by relying on them to deliver the value.
Exactly, because they're promoted, aren't they? Because there's real money in it. So,
and it's a bit easier.
And the same applies to athletes, of course.
Yeah.
Athletes often will take protein supplements.
Yes.
And there's dangers in that because who knows how they've been made and what they've been mixed with.
Yes, yeah. Paul Richards is in this morning. It's always about balance, Paul. You're absolutely right. People who are thin can get chronic illness. Everyone can get a chronic illness, can't they? It's a big picture. It's a holistic picture, isn't it? And like we're saying here, there's no one thing you can do. Just because you lose a lot of weight doesn't mean you're going to be healthy. Phil's doing all sorts of things to be a beacon of holistic health, quite frankly, not just losing a hell of a lot of weight, although that's an amazing achievement as well. Bob is saying, Bondia bone density, we just purchased and are using high quality rebounder. Rebounders are good. They got a bit of give in them, haven't they? Good for balance and bone density, and no shock on the heels and ankles there as well.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah. Ground eggshells. Mrs. M, she makes a calcium supplement out of our own organic eggshells that we've bought as well. That's a good way of getting calcium in, Squire of the Shires. But don't just go to the first thing you find on YouTube. Do a little bit more research and maybe take on board a health professional. Good morning, everyone from Winsurance. Despite the weather, make the most of your weekend. Visit Obj on Sunday and visit the Prohibition Bar. Oh, another nice afternoon at the Prohibition Bar awaits on Sunday. Well done, Branny, as well, for the Let Love Grow Festival last Sunday. And except for a bit of D3, you need 5,000 whatever IUs are. I always forget that. Have a blood test first. Yes, maybe find out what's going on. That's a good tip as well, isn't it? Rather than guessing about everything.
Well, certainly if you have problems, you really should get it properly analysed.
Get it checked out. Wonderful. Okay, thanks very much, Coach, for that this week. Bone density and what to do about it to build it up a bit and to avoid osteoporosis. Let's have a look at some of these wonderful pictures then of Phil Cooklin. This is brilliant. We've watched this journey, Phil, as well. What's happening here? Is that
it's men's and ladies, isn't it?
It does look very pink and blue.
The original barn as bought back in August 3 years ago.
Right. Okay. The original barn, what, that became...
That.
Hey, fantastic. And that view of Joey on the balcony there, well, on the, what do you call that? Your
Veranda.
Your veranda. That is such a
Yeah.
beautiful vision, is it not? Look at
Oh,
that.
it's lovely. We love it here. The Joey loves it here. You can run around. We've got a cat as well, Zazzle's their best mates. And,
Are they? But that is an incredible transformation to be going from that. When did you buy that?
August 3 years ago.
Right, okay. And now you can enjoy it as this. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Look. Oh, that's fantastic. And this is your view, of course, as well, isn't it? Down the track, Joey's enjoying that little runabout there.
Yeah, we go. I walk up Monsanto. I try to do it at least once a week because it's like there and back's like 12,000 steps, and it's really good cardio because it's uphill all the way.
Love it. Latest
it's a bloody steep climb.
Yep, and we're loving the new eco funeral idea seems to be going well. Not
yes,
really.
yes. People seem to want to be buried under our old roof tile. I'm getting 2 beds ready just for Lady Kay to come and plant some stuff. We've got seeds growing. It's something we finally got round to, something that was a big driver for us. There's nothing like being out there and digging and growing and weeding and just taking care of yourself. Again, it's a mental well-being thing, isn't it? And also exercise at the same time. I can promise you, digging those beds
and great food.
Plenty. Fantastic!
Yes.
The freshest.
Why did us human beings stop doing all these things that are so good for us? We bought the first supplements, like a biblical story, isn't it? Here, take this, and you won't have to do any of that hard work stuff anymore. That does you good.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to money, doesn't it? Really, we think we need a certain level to survive, and we believe that the only way of doing that is getting a job and living in a city. And when we start living in cities, it becomes harder. Not impossible, but harder.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, well said, Phil. And of course, further help from you for people who perhaps want to, or a little bit of help and inspiration to break that loop, and how we've done ourselves a bit of a disservice possibly during this industrial revolution of ours. Next, and other revolutions will come, and they may begin with help from Phil, for example. This one thing course starts in January. So what's going on in January?
Well, this one thing is, I don't know, it's entering its 4th year, I think, of courses. And we just run a very small course, no more than 8. It's a very intimate course. We meet live online, so it's not a recording or anything like that. And we delve into the one thing. You know, people often say, well, if I could just do this one thing, then everything would be whatever.
Yes.
And we go diving into this one thing and help them in achieving this one thing, achieve loads of all the other things, because it is about the way you approach life. It's not about how you approach this one thing. But it's called the This One Thing course because people come to us with this one thing and we help them move towards it, because it's about having a dream and taking some baby steps. And allowing yourself to just allow it to happen. I mean, all of these things have been following everything that I achieve, or Lady Kay and I achieve, or, you know, we do a dream board, which is a whole set of destinations. So on there, we used to be happy with weight, or great relationships with family and friends, or dream home, didn't have a specific, or income abundance, or all of these things would go on our dream board. And we take little steps in any direction to make them happen, because it's a bit like a sat nav. You don't have to work out where you're going. You put the destination into the sat nav. If you go wrong, it goes, no, turn right, no, turn right, no, turn right, and will take you back to where you need to be going to get. And the universe is a bit like that. That's what we believe. And therefore, as long as you're taking some steps, you have to get to your destination. The thing you don't know is when or how. And you have to just let go of those, and they will come. And some of them, like the house, will come. I mean, we bought the house, you know, we came, as you know, on that trip going down the N2. We bought that house within 3 weeks of seeing it. And no, it didn't have a habitation license. And no, it didn't have it didn't have urban. It wasn't an urban license. It was rural, but we knew we could change it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. We took the steps necessary to get everything done true to form. We now have electricity. The well didn't go below 17,000 litres this summer, which is fantastic. So we know that the well is strong and good. And now I just live here. I confess I've become a little bit of an isolator, because when I leave here, isolators, you have various parts within you.
Yeah.
They're the voices in your head. Well, one of them is the isolator part. It's the one that says, no, I'm not going out there. I don't need to go out there. I can just be happy just sitting here. I don't need anybody else. I don't need anything else, because I can just be happy just here. And I'm so happy that I've become a little bit of an isolator, because whenever I go out, I want to come back.
Yes, very good. Well, that sounds wonderful. I think at a state a lot of people aspire to. The great thing about you, and people do talk about this sort of technology more and more, and we're seeing and hearing more and more about it, Phil. And I'm pleased about that. That this is an education that's available to younger people to create the sort of life they want to have. And that's against the background of some of the problems we mentioned before. We live in a very dark world in many ways, and we have this beautiful enabling and light-giving technology that you're talking about. Great thing about you, Phil, and you as well, Ian, you make this happen as well. We're not just talking about it, are we? Phil, you're an incredible example of what you talk about. You're not one of those. I saw a hilarious life coach skit this morning. And there's a lot of talk in the world of life coaching and coaching, isn't there, about what you can achieve. And then there's people like you, Phil, who've actually gone and done it and are living examples of how the technology can work. So we take our hat off to you. We take our XXL t-shirt off to you, and thank you for being an example of this. And of course, there's the baby steps in the work, which is what you're about, Coach. Right? You people have dreams with you as a coach in athletics, and you get them there. And it's about the vision, and it's about the work. You've got to do the work as well, haven't you?
You have to do the work. I was coaching last night, and we have a young. How old is she now? About 19, I think. And we've been working with her. She was always talented. We've been working with her for, I think, 3 years. And last night, she ran beautifully for the first time. She got it. It absolutely got it. And it's taken that long to coach her to run to her best ability.
Yeah.
And so it is totally baby steps.
Yes.
My mate John and I, who I coach with, we understand that. We've known that a long while. But that's why we do it, to see the progression. That's what gives us, huge buzz.
Well, we were talking. Me and the Portuguese were talking about YouTube success, and he works so hard, and I was reminded of that phrase. That happens. You see it with musicians. It takes years to have an overnight success, and that's what you don't see, isn't it? If you're not doing the hard work yourself, people say, "Oh, it's so lucky. What's happened to you?" It's like musicians must get all this luck of playing in bars for the last 40 years or whatever. So I guess I've been lucky to do all of that, and suddenly I'm a massive success. And that got it moment that you mentioned as well, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it, as a coach, to see that when it just sinks in and somebody is set off on a new path. That must be so satisfying.
Well, my mate John, he's a bit of an old grump. He's 82 now. He's not the most sociable of people, but the two of us.
An isolator.
Yeah, he's an isolator. He absolutely is. Always has been. But he and I get on really well. I kind of understand that about him.
Yes.
And he said, "I'm not happy." So I said, "What do you mean you're not happy, John?" He said, "There's nothing I can critique. It was perfect." He just had a grin on his face. He was very happy last night. And,
excellent.
It's lovely when you can bring these people through, especially young people.
Yeah, for sure.
And it builds so much confidence in them
Yes.
in their athletic, and the discipline that they put into that.
And it all suddenly makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
It all makes sense that they then grow in all other parts of their lives.
Well, that's right. What Phil said.
They've got confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, it's totally what Phil said.
Look, this one thing, I was reminded when you were talking about that, Phil, how it's said, isn't it? How we do one thing is how we do everything. But isolating one thing to work on will then give you access to change in all the other areas of your life. But if you take them all on in one go, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So this is wonderful. Starting again in January. How do people get in touch with you, Phil, to be part of that?
Oh, if they just go on to kuwudu.info, the courses for front page. I'll post a quick comment.
Oh, good on you, mate. Pop that in the chat there, because it is 10 o'clock. It's flown by, but I've got a couple of comments I want to include. It's human nature to want to avoid hard things and move toward doing something easier, more efficient. Lots of modern benefits, obviously, but we also lose the benefits of hard work itself, reiterating what we've been talking about. Cheers, Joao Ernesto. And we'll finish with your lovely video as well. Thanks for that, John. We can't go to Owen. There's a technical issue at the school, but we'll have that on Monday. We'll have the reveal of the poem. Go on, Joe. And on the canal, it's fantastic because I can moor completely alone. She's an isolator, or join in the herding complex with a row of boats. I want to sing a song for some reason, saying row your boat there, in a town or countryside. Very nice. However, you're giving that up, aren't you, to come to Portugal, where, as you can see from Phil's life here, you'll be able to enjoy a beautiful life here in Portugal. When are you going to get here, Jackie? And Norm, I haven't seen Norm for a long time. He's another amazing person who makes things happen. And I met Norm in Devon. Must have seen us on LinkedIn this morning. World Walks Against Dementia, September 25. Please, all around the world, join us in this. Please ask for more info if you want to go to norms@gmail.com. Look, Phil's going off for a walk already. That's 2R in norms@gmail.com, or I won't get it. So there you go. And there's a Facebook link as well if you want to walk against dementia. September of next year. Nice one, Phil. Have we got that link there? If not, I'll put it up.
It wouldn't allow me to post it. It's just Kuwudu.
Well, I can. I think I'm allowed that as part of my privileges and power here on the Good Morning Portugal. One for Samana to everybody. Just a last word from each of you, if you will. And Joey's giving his last word there. Finally, Coach, on the end of this week of bone density, a small tip for everybody.
Yeah,
one W too many.
Eat well and don't and do a bit of exercise. Just check. Begin the habit, a little bit at a time.
Why not? This weekend, start your baby steps this weekend with all the inspiration that you've seen on the screen, including Jeff Hall this weekend, who's going to get a movie made to help humanity. What about you, Phil? Final word from you?
Look, in this world where there seems to be more and more tension and fighting and troubles, let's just be lovely to each other. Just even the people that you don't really like. Just go out and be nice to them, because they're there for a reason. And if we embrace them, a firefighter doesn't fight fire with fire. He fights it with water. Let's just put water on some stuff.
Wonderful. And good luck with that growing on those lovely veg beds of yours. Love to Lady K. Love to Hertfordshire and Mrs. T as well. Have a great weekend. Everybody will have a moment of lovely peacefulness up in the north of Portugal. Take care, everybody. And bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Bon fils
ciao, ciao.
This is like so close.
full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.